it's Louise with you of Timeless Craft Mama, and today's scrapbook layout process video is created for Scrapbook Boutique, and I'm going to call this page Happy. Now, if you've come across from the blog, you'll see that this layout is actually a collaboration between myself and the fabulous Therese from Lost in Paper. So make sure you check out her video about how we've worked together on this page, and I will get to those a little bit later in the video. But first of all, I want to show you some of the elements from this Wild and Fancy collection from DCWV, and honestly this is probably one of my favourite collections at the moment. I think it's really neutral. It's obviously got the wood tones, it's got a little bit of the aqua, turquoise, teal, mint, whatever you want to call that particular colour. So it really has a lot of applications, and for me, who's someone that scraps a lot of boys, or in this case a photo of myself and Master C, it really does work for all kinds of pages. So some of these little die cuts, I've used the toner paper because I'm actually going to feed them through the Minc machine and foil them. So one of the things that I like about the Wild and Fancy collection is that it has those sort of foil elements, and to help my page blend in, I'm going to add some of those foil to some other areas. So what I'm basically doing is just working out a general idea of how this layout was going to go, and this was something that I'd sort of started working on, and then I got a little package of goodies from fabulous Therese, and when I had this layout on my desk, I really just knew that those Altenew stamped flowers were really going to look perfect on this page. So now that I've got a bit of an outline of what I'm going to do, I decide to get my Minc set up and start to add my foil elements. Now I have edited some of this out because you don't need to see foil being sent through a machine, but basically you can find all of the products, so the toner sheets, the Minc foils, and the Minc machine itself, all in the Scrapbook Boutique store. So I had a little trouble with my die cut machine, and some of them actually get a bit stuck to the foiling, I don't know what you call it, so the folder, but that's all right. Off camera I'm going to go ahead later on and actually peel those off, and I apologize for all the bits flying around everywhere on the video, but basically, yeah, going to add some gold mostly because it's one of my favorite ways to embellish a page, and that's going to just help with the layers and some of the background work, bringing all this together. Okay, so starting to get into a point where I'm ready to almost stick things down, and I'm thinking, okay, I still need something in the background. For whatever reason, I like my layouts to have something, and here's this fabulous little package that arrived in the mail from Therese. So first thing I did was, because she'd included some of these wonderful turquoise flowers, I'm going to use those on the page. And what we specifically wanted to do with this collaboration is to show you that if you're a cardie and you've got all these items in your stash, so things that you might use to make cards for people, you can actually also use them for scrapbook layouts. And that's primarily what the idea was, to, you know, inspire you to use some of the elements that you may have in your stash to create a page. So looking at the background, I'm loving the way the flowers look, I'm loving the layers, I'm loving the paper collection. I just needed a little something extra. So I've grabbed the stencil and the cracked pistachio distress oxide, and I'm just going to add a tiny little bit into the background. I don't want it to be really mixed media. I don't need too much added to the page. It's just to break up sort of the plain pattern of the background, and I really like the way it's turned out. You can see sort of that leafy kind of stencil. We've got some layers of paper, we've got some really nice foiling on the title, and these gorgeous little clusters of the flowers from Therese. So to bring it all together, and this is more just because I felt like it needed some little black elements on there. It was very turquoise, very white. So the black, I think, just helps to darken it up a little bit. So a couple of stamped butterflies, a sentiment, a few little elements here and there, but really a simple page that has a lot of strike to it. So it really does create quite an interesting effect. And the Wild at Heart little cutout that I was originally going to use actually gets left off the final page. So there you go. Sometimes the idea that you have in your mind is nothing like what ends up. And finally, just to bring those black elements in, a couple of splatters of some black mist, and that really does bring the layout to a close. I've added some journaling as well, just because it's very important, and that's the final page. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and of course pop on over to Scrapbook Boutique and Therese at Lost in Paper.